Hello and welcome to Legendary Lunacy, episode 8, I believe. Yes, episode 8. Uh, Sorry for getting another late video, and it's gonna be another short one because tonight we had the closing of the Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. And while it was a blast, and while I'm going to miss all of my castmates, which if any of you are listening tonight, which I don't know if any of you are, or if you see this later on, castmates, thank you so much for letting me be a part of this show with you guys. I had a blast. I had so much fun. It's the first show in it's my first show since COVID where I actually got to come and do a show. And I was a little nervous coming back to theater because it had been so long since I'd done on stage work, and I had so much fun with you guys, every aspect of it, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you, and I hope we get to work together again.
Are you gonna miss me as a castmate?
Yes, I miss you so much. This is also the first show since we met, really, that we got to work on it. Me and Abbey, my girlfriend, got to work on together. Uh, and so, like, that was very fun. And I hope we get to work on another show again together soon. But until then, we'll have to cherish the memories we had of this show. So for tonight's episode, since it's so late and since we're all exhausted, I'm gonna go ahead and do something simple as a topic tonight. Tonight we'll talk about the story of Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. So Sweeney Todd was written. It was supposedly was based on an actual event where there was a barber back in the Victorian England who was, and again, this is all allegedly. I don't know how much of this is accurate, and I'm not doing the research because right now I'm lazy and I don't want to. But I do remember seeing this because I was looking up to see how many people were killed during the course of Sweeney Todd, and supposedly the origin that this was based off of, the guy killed 160 people before he was caught. Which, if that's the case, good God, the police were just not on their game. Well, it's bad, but the guy was just really good at covering his tracks. But the dude killed 160 people and turned them into pies before he was actually caught, which is baffling, to say the least. But so in the story of Sweeney Todd, Benjamin Barker is a barber who lives with his family above a pie shop, and eventually, after his wife has their first daughter, who's when the daughter's 1 year old, the Judge Turpin, and his right hand man, is it
Beetle Badford.
Beetle Badford. They come out and kidnap Benjamin Barker and send him away to Australia to work on a prison camp. And while he's gone, they take advantage of Benjamin Barker's wife being alone and do unspeakable things and take Benjamin Barker and Lucy's daughter as his own daughter. He adopts her. Now, from this point, it is the audience is led to believe that Lucy is dead, that she had taken poison to kill herself from what had happened with her and the judge, and with Benjamin Barker and all that. Well, then it cuts to 15 years later. Benjamin Barker has broken out of prison and was found on a boat where he was trying to get back home. And he was found by Anthony, a sailor, who rescued him and brought him aboard, and they formed a friendship. Well, when he was found, Benjamin Barker, he took the name Sweeney Todd as like a cover because he was still wanted for whatever the judge accused him of. And so when they get back to London, he goes back to his old stomping ground and tells Anthony, like, hey, I'm going to go in this area, so if you need to find me, I'll be here. But deuces. So he leaves. Sweeney Todd meets Mrs. Lovett, the owner of the pie shop, whose pies taste like ass. They're not good pies. They're not good at all. But she tells him, like, he asks, is there a place you probably make some money? Because she's talking about how her pies are so bad she can't make money off of them. He says, you'd probably make more money if you would rent out the place upstairs. And she's like, well, no one wants to, like, no one wants to live up there because it's probably haunted because of what happened. And she tells the whole story with the wife and Benjamin Barker and all this other stuff. And in this entire time, he's telling her his name is Sweeney Todd. He's like going by his alias, you know. And when she gets to what happened with his wife, he snaps and starts screaming and yelling at her, like, "Well, no one take mercy on her." And she's like, "Ah, so I know who you are. You're the guy." And so the entire time, she is laying on these lines that help you understand and realize that Mrs. Lovett is thirsting for Benjamin Barker. You know, she wants to get a haircut. If you know what I am saying. Is that read, babe? Is that good?
What'd you say?
Miss Lovett is thirsting for some Benjamin Barker haircuts.
Oh my god.
Okay, I think that works. I think that's effective. But so there's all these ideas they have, and he's like, he wants to get revenge on the judge for essentially ruining his life, and she's like, "Hey, I'll help," and he's like, "I'm gonna kill people," and she's like, "Hey, I'll help," and he's like, "It's gonna get messy," and she's like, "Hey, I'll help," and he's like, "Wow, you're just okay, cool, we're gonna do it." And so, she gives him his old razors. He goes upstairs. She agrees to rent it out to him for his actuality. I think it's just she wants him and he needs a place to stay, and so she just does. But she also agrees to help him with other stuff. Meanwhile, Anthony is going off enjoying his life when he sees a woman in a window who is about his age, and he's immediately smitten with her. And so he's like, "I love this woman and her yellow hair, and I must marry her," which turns out to be Joanna, which is Sweeney's daughter. And Judge Turpin sees that the young sailor boy is smitten with Joanna, and so he like chases him off and everything. And in some renditions of the story, it's a little bit more violent than just chases him off. It kicks the crap out of him and then sends him on his way. But it is what it is. Sorry, I keep yawning. I'm tired. Well, Sweeney, to prove his mettle as a barber, challenges a local shyster named Pirelli to a shave-off in the city streets, and shaves some people, and they race each other for the fastest, smoothest shave, and Sweeney wins. So people start to like come and go there more. In the process, Pirelli, it is revealed, recognizes Sweeney for his actual name, and shows up at the barber shop later on with his assistant Toby, and he sends Toby away to go with Mrs. Lovett down to the pie shop, and then he accuses Sweeney of being Benjamin Barker, the man accused of murder and everything, and Pirelli reveals that he used to be an assistant to Sweeney Todd when he was Benjamin Barker, and he blackmails him and says, like, if you don't give me half of your earnings, then I will go straight to the judge and say you're back, and you'll go back to jail, and that'll be it. So Sweeney just straight up fucking murks the dude. Just kills him. And then from that point on, Toby, the assistant, is pretty much just adopted by Mrs. Lovett, like to help out around the shop and everything. Which, I mean, say what you will, in almost every rendition I've ever seen, she treats Toby way better than Pirelli did. So we're good. It's all good. And at first she's like, "You killed Pirelli with the boy downstairs. It sounds crazy." And then he's like, "Well, he did recognize me and was gonna, blab and get me arrested." And she's like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, we're good." Which, I mean, you can say a lot of things about Mrs. Lovett, but she's a ride or die. She's there for the long haul. So after that, Anthony shows up and says, "Look, I found a woman I want to marry. Her name is Joanna, and her guardian, Judge Turpin, is an asshole, and I need to get her out of here, but I need somewhere to once I get her out of her place, I need to hide her somewhere until I can get a ride to Plymouth, out of the town. And so Mrs. Lovett's like, yeah, bring her here. Just bring her to the barber shop. And Sweeney's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And so he leaves to go get Joanna and plan out the whole escape. Meanwhile, Judge Turpin proposes to her. You heard that right. The adoptive father of the girl proposes to her. It's a dark show. It's a very dark show. He proposes to her, and she's like, I mean, it took a lot of guts to do that, to propose to your stepdaughter. But, I'm gonna have to say no. It's a no from me, dog. And so Joanna, talking with Anthony, is like, let's get the fuck out of here, man. And so they plan to get out. Well, since Joanna was not all too eager to jump the bones of the man who she's seen as a father figure since she was 1 year old, since she was not jumping at the bit, the judge, with Beetle's advice, goes to Sweeney to get a haircut. And when he gets there, Mr. Todd is like shaving his face, and has the perfect opportunity to just slash his throat, kill him, and it'll be over with. And just before he can do it, Anthony shows up and is like, hey, I found a way to, we're going to bring the girl here, and she's agreed, and we're going to get married and run away together. And the judge is pissed, so he says, I'll lock her away in some asylum so you can never find her. And Mr. Todd, you'll never have my business because you have ruined, you're a bad person, and and all this other stuff. And so he goes away, and Todd throws Anthony out, and Todd has what is the epiphany. It's the name of the song. It's Epiphany. And that's when Sweeney Todd realizes, okay, I was going to just kill the judge and Beetle Bamford for ruining my life. But now, I'm going to just kill everybody, because nobody deserves to live. Everyone deserves to die, and everyone is a horrible piece of crap, and I'm going to kill them all. And Mrs. Lovett is like, wow, okay, maybe just breathe a minute, because holy shit, dude, that's drastic. And so they go downstairs, and then Mrs. Lovett is like, well, if you want to murder, I got an idea. Now, one problem with this Mrs. Lovett's pie shop that we know throughout the entirety of the story is that she is struggling to make good pies because she can't get good meat. She can't afford it. There's she talks about how there's other pie shops in town that are selling meat pies that are trying to catch pets, like dogs and cats, but they're tough because the cats are really quick, inferring that she has tried that a couple times and just can't get a hold of them. So instead, she suggests, what if we just start killing people? You kill them, I cook them, and we'll make some money. And that's the end of Act 1, and with the start of Act 2, yep, they're selling lots of meat pies, and it's doing really well, and the people are literally going crazy for these meat pies, because apparently they are so good. And, yeah, it is dark. It's a very dark show. So, after that, Mr. Todd is killing with no remorse, slashing swords, and Mrs. Lovett is chopping people up, grinding them up, putting them in the meat pies, and Toby is selling the meat pies because he doesn't know. He just knows that Mrs. Lovett makes the meat pies, and he puts them in the oven, and then that's that. You know, he doesn't know all the darkness that's going on behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Anthony is doing everything he can to try and find Joanna, and when he does find Joanna, he comes to Mr. Todd and says, I found her, and Todd's like, okay, well, we need to get her out of there. And so they plan this whole ordeal to go and get Joanna from the asylum where she's been locked up for an extended period. I don't know how long, but anyways, they go and they break her, he breaks her out of there. After Todd sends him to go break Joanna out, he sends a letter to Judge Turpin saying, first he tells, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. He tells Anthony, go and break her out of the asylum. Bring her here. I will stand guard over her while you go get a ride to the next town over, to wherever, to get the hell out of here. And then once you get the ride, bring it back here, pick her up, and you guys can get the hell out of here. And Anthony's like, friend, you're a good man. Thank you. Takes off to go do it. Immediately after Anthony leaves, he writes a letter to Judge Turpin saying, hey, I know we left on bad terms, but you should know the sailor is trying to abscond with your daughter. He found out where she's at, and he's breaking her out of the asylum. I have persuaded him to keep her at my place tonight. You should come here and get her before he comes to try and take her away, because I don't want to hurt anybody, but I want you to make sure that you're safe and that you can trust me. And so he sends the letter to Judge Turpin, who immediately after Anthony gets back with Joanna, Sweeney doesn't see this, but he puts Joanna in a box in the barber shop to hide her. Well, there's a beggar woman that you see throughout the entirety of the show, and she's just is constantly in the background doing all kinds of crazy stuff in the background. And she seems to be like one of the only characters who knows there's something up with the barber shop and the pie shop, because she's like, the meat, you can smell it smells weird, the meat tastes different, the burning from the oven smells strange. Well, after Joanna is brought back and is hiding in the box, and Anthony runs away to go get the chase to Plymouth, before the judge gets there, she shows up and starts acting very strangely and doing things that don't make a lot of sense. Sorry, my mask is being weird with my hair. And she shows up and starts acting strangely in the barbershop. Well, then Sweeney, knowing that the judge is on his way, is like, I need to do something fast. Well, he tries convincing her to leave, and she won't leave. And so instead of, like, trying to hide her from the judge, he does the quickest thing possible, which is slash her throat, drop her down the chute. And she does and gets rid of her. In the meantime, the judge shows up and is like, where's Joanna? And Sweeney Todd's like, she's safe, she's fine. But she's realized the error of her ways. Sit down and let me prepare you, because she wants to see you, but you need to look better. You need to look your best for her. And the judge, being a creep, is like, you're right. I need to make sure that she sees me as sexy, as handsome as I could possibly be. And so he sits in the chair and is like, Sweeney, go ahead and do your thing. Which, keep in mind, Sweeney knows that Joanna is his daughter. Turpin knows that Joanna is Benjamin Barker's daughter, but does not know that Sweeney is Benjamin Barker at this point. So this man is going, I want that girl. She's going to be mine. I'm going to do things to the daughter's father. And so Sweeney has got to be sitting there sharpening the razor like, oh yeah, I totally get it. Lean your head back. Okay. But so he's giving him his shave, getting him all ready, and then he says, well, you know, I've aged a lot since we last saw each other, 15 years ago. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? And Sweeney says, I guess that's fair. People don't usually remember the face of their barber from all those years ago. And that's when the realization hits, and he's like, Benjamin Barker, and he's like, Benjamin Barker! And he slashes his throat, and he chops up his chest a lot, and he sends him down the chute, and he has the moment of his revenge has been completed. He has gotten what he wanted, he got his revenge, because he also killed Beetle Bailey at this point, too. Now, during this time, Toby was locked in the bake shop where they grind up the meat and everything, and witnessed Beetle Bailey's body come flying down the chute, and has realized people are eating the meat of the people, and he is terrified. He's a kid. He's a little kid. And so he's run off into the catacombs underneath the pie shop and is hiding. Now, at this point, Sweeney realizes he needs to go find Toby, so he runs out to find Toby, and then realizes he forgot his razor, so he runs back in, and when he runs back in, Joanna, dressed as a man to disguise herself, has climbed out of the box. And so Sweeney just sees someone climbing out of the box, and it looks like a man. And is like, oh, this man has seen me kill 2 people now. I don't know when they got in here. I'm going to just kill him, because otherwise he's going to know that I'm killing people. So, Joanna keeps backing away, more terrified, when, right before he can slash her throat, someone in the bakehouse, Mrs. Lovett, with the body, starts screaming bloody murder, which distracts him for a moment, and Joanna gets away. Which means he was moments away from killing his daughter. Which is, horrible. And so, trying to solve all these problems, Sweeney runs down into the bake shop. And when he gets down there, Mrs. Lovett is dealing with the dying judge, he's almost dead, and then by the time they're done talking, he's dead. When he sees that the beggar woman, who he just slashed her throat and dropped her down the hole, is also laying there needing to be chopped up and ground up or just thrown into the fire burned. And Lovett is telling him, no, let me throw her in the fire. We just need to burn her body, just get rid of her. And he's like, well, you need the meat. We need to get the meat too. So just let me do it. It's that simple. And when he reaches down to grab the beggar woman, he looks at her face for the first time and sees that the beggar woman is not just some random homeless woman. Now, in the beginning of this show, we learn, well, we are told that it's just a beggar woman. And then when we learn about Lucy, Benjamin Barker's wife, we are told from Lovett that she took arsenic poison, well, poisoned herself with arsenic after what happened with the judge, and she died. That was a lie. She took the arsenic poisoning, was bedridden for weeks. It damaged her brain and her psyche, but she survived. Lucy Barker survived her ordeal and lived her days as a homeless beggar woman until she noticed that the pie shop underneath where she used to live started to smell different. There was a man living in her old house that looked familiar, but she couldn't figure out why. And when she went to confront that man and tell him, you seem familiar, you look familiar, and something is going on in this bakehouse that is wrong, he didn't recognize her. And he killed his wife. He slashed his own wife's throat and sent her down the chute. Now, Mrs. Lovett defends herself, saying, I never lied to you, because he accuses her. He says, you lied to me. You said my wife was dead. And she's like, I never lied to you. I never said that your wife was dead. I said she took the poison, and that's true. She did. She took the poison. But it made her insane. Would you rather have an insane wife, or would you... She's like, I would have been 10 times the wife that she would have been. And so finally, he seems to just snap again. He seems to have, like, he says, oh, you're so right. Life is for the living, and you're right, and I should forget about this. And he gets up and he starts dancing with Mrs. Lovett, and she seems like enamored. She's like, oh, we'll move away together. And then she has a couple songs where she talks about, like, we'll be together, and you're all I want to be with. And she's like singing to him, and he's singing to her about life is for the living. And just when she's at this moment of, she's like, I am so happy, because they're sitting there getting ready to throw stuff in the fire. He throws Mrs. Lovett into the oven and slams the door shut behind her, and she burns to death in her own oven. Then he cradles his wife's body on the floor in front of him. And as he cries and sobs and just he sings the song of him and his wife from the beginning of the show, which is very sad. It was a barber and his wife, and she was beautiful. A foolish barber and his wife, she was his reason in his life, and she was beautiful, and he was naive. Which, I mean, it's a very rough version, but after doing so, you hear another voice singing Pat a Cake, Baker Man, coming from the shadows of underneath the pie shop, as Toby, the young boy who has been scarred by all of this. In the storyline, he comes out with white hair. He's been so frightened his hair turned white and died. But he crawls out from underneath bodies and such, takes the razor from Sweeney Todd, who at this point doesn't see another reason to live. And Toby kills Sweeney Todd, ending his story. And that's it. That's the end. Joanna and Anthony get away, and Toby is left completely mentally scarred. And everyone else is dead. Now, if you like this story, and have you ever heard of Penny Dreadful, the TV series? If you have, look up Penny Dreadful, A String of Pearls. It was an old Victorian story that was written, and it was the basis that became this, which is why when I say allegedly it was based on a baker or a barber who killed 160 people, because supposedly that's what the news report said from Victorian England. There was a man who did that. But around the same time that happened, a story also came out called A String of Pearls, which was a short story about a barber who works as a baker as well, who kills 160 people in his barber shop and turns them into pies. Definitely recommend reading more about this. This video went longer than I was expecting it to go, but that's okay. Once again, shout out to all the lovely people at the Forum Theater who were in Sweeney Todd with me. I love all of you so, so much. I had a great time, and I can't wait to work with you guys again. Until we see each other again, thank you so much for the great memories of this show. If you like this show, like their synopsis, I can do more. I like doing these synopses. I mean, I know my synopsis was a little weird, but I enjoy it. I had fun. So, I will talk to you guys later. I will see you guys tomorrow. Be safe, sit back, relax, and enjoy the darkness around you, because the darkness will always be there, but we'll be alright. Have a good night, guys. I love y'all so much.